Welcome to week 13. We are really on the finishing stretch. We have a few more weeks and we will be getting ready to turn in all of our projects and to take our final exams. So make sure that you're keeping up with things. Continue to check your grade. I have made a point to try and be more diligent about that. So if there are issues, we can get them changed immediately. Because once we get to finals week, once those final grades are in, I will be submitting them pretty quickly. So I just want to review a little bit about family systems approach. We sort of smashed a lot into one week because really family systems approach are four different theoretical approaches. In actuality, they're really a little bit more than that. There is a complete master's degree on just family systems counseling. And so remember that these is sort of an approach. But one thing that's important to think is that all family system approaches believe that the family system leads to issues that need to be resolved by addressing the system, not the individual. And what that means is if you take a family systems approach, you assume that what you need to be working on is the family system. So even if you are working with an individual individually and not with a family, you will still be helping that individual change the family system as opposed to focusing on the individual. And what we know about systems is that if one person or thing in the system changes, it forces everything else to change. And so that's the approach that you would be working with. I also want to remind you all, especially after reading some of the discussion board posts, is that family systems is a cultural thing. Things such as boundaries are set up by culture. There are certain cultures where breastfeeding takes place up until a child is a lot older than typically in America. And a lot of people would say, oh, well, that means that they're enmeshed, but you have to be careful. And so, what you need to be doing when using this sort of approach is helping the family to look at their system, define that system for themselves, and discuss what parts of that system are working. So, you're going to approach it with multicultural sensitivity. And then finally, how do we manage confidentiality? First, you're going to set boundaries and rules for yourself early. There have been times where I have heard counselors in family systems approach say, I won't keep secrets. So if you tell me something that's going on in the family, know that it could be talked about in the session. And then you also remind people that in group dynamics, you cannot afford or you cannot guarantee confidentiality. You can only guarantee that you will keep the information confidential, but they also need to be invested in confidentiality as a family. So, I want to talk to you a little bit about your projects. There have been a couple of things that I've noticed. One is that I wrote your grading rubric was all messed up, and so I've made some changes. Your project is only worth 10% of your grade, not 20%. And really quickly, I just want to bring up the Blackboard thing. And so if you have questions about the presentation, start here by clicking on theory presentation. I have guidelines, I have a grading rubric, and then eventually you will come in here and attach your presentation to a post so that other people can look at that. But if you have questions, read the guidelines and rubric first and then email me. This is really important. Some of you have said you have no clue where to start or you haven't seen these things. So make sure you look at these. We're getting to the end of the session and it's really important that you know that. Finally, your group presentation project. I know several of you have felt like, oh my goodness, this is getting overwhelming. It's a snapshot and you should focus on things that seem most important. And I understand that some of you aren't sure. Oh, will she take off for this if we pull this out? Really, I'm going to be letting you use your discretion as a group. If most of the group members think that something can be taken out, you are probably going to be okay with that. I will be looking at these more from a holistic point of view. So if I feel like a couple of theories are a little weak, but in general your presentation is good, you will be fine. I also would encourage you to start pulling information together now. As you know, you guys have a ton of information and you want to have a pulled together project. And then finally, you should have received an email from the testing office. It's an idea survey, which is an evaluation form. Please complete this. And once you do, email me. I will give you 3 points of extra credit. I will not have access to the results until the class is over, and your responses will be anonymous. So please do that because that helps me make changes in the course as appropriate. Thank you. Have a great day and a great week.